Really, it's already been so much church. Can you really have another piece? I think we should, though. Yesterday was a new day for me. I got up early and met a friend, and we rode to his house. And there we got 2 paddle boards. I'd never been on a paddleboard in my life until yesterday. And the 3 of us got on these paddle boards, my friend, me, and his sister. Of course, his sister was in a box in a plastic bag. Her remains were with us. We each put on lei, giving them to each other, as again we paddled out, taking his sister on her last journey. The sky was so beautiful. And we had a sense as we went out how real it is that we are of dust, and to dust we return. But the beauty of being here in this special land is how much of the water of life is in us, is around us. As we met over the reef in Kaneohe Bay in a very safe, sandy area, we took a lantern out and deposited the remains in the lantern, but the remains were too heavy for the lantern. And so this brother, my friend, just gently put his sister to rest in the ocean. And it was glorious. The way that these pieces, these physical elements of her mingled in the beautiful shimmering water. It was like watching her come to life again. It gives us this sense of forever, this sense that it goes on. And we remember hearing, in a sense, that word we have been saying, that phrase we have been singing all month. Remember me. Remember me. When I saw these remains, it made me realize one of the strange things about being a minister is how comfortable we get with remains, with what remains. It's one of the spooky, mysterious things that we do that are just a little different than other people. But what does remain when we go? That is one of the defining questions of one's belief. It is a way someone can begin to talk about their understanding of the universe, of time, of the way we live in this space we inhabit together. Whether what we leave is ethereal on this special Halloween day. No one's even said the word Halloween yet today, which is wonderful. But it's what brings up ghost stories. It's what brings up even an idea of angels. Remember that only about half of this country believes that there is a God, and about 90% believe there are angels. I'm just going to leave you with that beautiful way that this country is so strange and wonderful. It leaves us with one of my favorite shows to binge ever, Supernatural. I'm just confessing all today, friends. But beyond the ethereal, there's also the physical, what we just talked about, my friend's sister's remains, not to mention the monuments to one's life, like the pyramids, or even just to be on this sacred part of the island where so many of the royal and spiritual leaders of these lands are memorialized, although very often actually not interred. For those of you who don't know, many of the most important sacred individuals in the Hawaiian world and realm have special hiding places for their remains. And also emotional. There are things that remain that are emotional. And it's what stories are about. It's what movies are about. It's what so much we've heard today is about: the memories of loved ones and the loved ones themselves that remain. And so we have this day. And it's not just our day. For millennia, this day, this special time, not maybe exactly this day, that was only until we got into the Gregorian calendar. Things used to be a little more, frankly, precise in some ways, because we would move exactly by the way the moon worked instead of trying to fit the lunar calendar into 12 months. But we'd have Halloween, which was All Hallows Eve, this day before the day of All Saints or All Souls, the Feast of All Saints. In my sort of ancestral homeland of Ireland and other places, we'd have Samhain, which actually there isn't that much we know about it. A lot of what people talk about Samhain is stuff that is sort of inferred or that they'd like to imagine is true, but a lot of researchers say there isn't that much left to us of that time. And even this week, though it's not exactly in the same vein, I have it on some authority that around November 4th in these lands, the Makahiki will begin. This is a very powerful week, friends. If you pray, this is the week. Someone's probably listening. Many believe this is the time in the year when the space between the physical and the ethereal plane or the spiritual plane are the closest. Again, from my Irish ancestors, we would call this the thin spaces, the spaces where there's more permeability between this life we think we know, which, frankly, you only have a dog to know that human senses aren't really that great. I mean, they see things and cats see things that we can't see. I sometimes think they do that just to keep us on our human toes. But what we really can see, what really remains here with us, is hard to be sure of all the time, even in this physical plane. And so we remember at this time. We literally put back together. We remember. And it is not that far from the very meaning of religion. To bind up again, religare, to bind together again. There is the old saying by Forest Church that religion is the human response to the dual reality of being alive and having to die. And that is what days like this, Mama said there would be days like this, bring to mind. It's hard, it hurts the heart, and yet brings up so many wonderful things. We celebrate our anniversary, yet another year of life, and we celebrate those lives we lost, both in the same Sunday. It reminds me of a book by Forest Church as well, one I might recommend more than almost any of his other books, called Love and Death. For those of you who don't know, Forest Church died of stomach cancer, but he thought he was going to die at one point and then got about a year's reprieve. And in that time, he wrote the book, Love and Death. He had literally said all his goodbyes, his bedside moments, his mea culpas, his experiences, his apologies. And then he had to do them all again. And the book chronicles this beautiful experience of a second chance of a year and what he learned about all the mistakes he made the first time and the ways he tried to correct them the second time. And I think it's so important to talk about a book called Love and Death because it strikes me, and some philosophers say this, Elaine de Bonton in particular says that of all of the things in life that are so important, how we love each other, how to be even in a romantic relationship, how to be in a family relationship, isn't a single class that's taught to us in our whole lives in school or anywhere else. Maybe instead of home economics, we could have love economics. Of course, they don't teach home economics anymore. Sadly, I don't even know how to put a button back on my clothes. But alongside love is death. I'm preaching over this way because everyone's sitting over here. Is also death. No one really teaches us how to deal with death. I once led a men's retreat about death. I thought we'd talk about men stuff or building stuff or whatever it is men want to do on a retreat. And there was a resounding claim, a resounding hope to talk about death and dying. And that's what we did for a whole weekend. And so many of the men shared that what they learned about death was silence. We don't speak about it. And this is the place, friends. If no one else is going to do it, it's us. It's the church. That's where we talk about love. That's where we talk about death. Shouldn't this be the place where we talk about those things? Because this is the place where we put ourselves back together again. We walk around in life and something falls off, we pick it up and we take it to church. This is the place where we are put back together, rebound together again. And so in this time, we remember. We remember all the times we had to learn a lesson about love, the hard way and the easy way. We remember all the ways we talked about giving our lives meaning. We remember this place where death was something we were not afraid to talk about. We remember the times we lost our love so painfully that we thought we might rather die. We remember a people that loved us when we couldn't quite love ourselves. We remember a way of being together that will outlast all of our lives. Church is where difference makes us stronger. Church is where love wins, in the end, every single time. Church is where we bind up the broken, friends. It's where we sing to the new day and praise the glory of the imagination that made all of this. Our hearts hope with the words, "Remember me." We paddle through this life, through the streams that we know, draped with the garlands of all that we've ever known, and yet we have all got to give them up back to the ocean eventually. And to this, the church says, we speak your name. We remember your life. And we give thanks for all you are and all that you made us. With your memory, you bless us. And like that, the chorus of voices grows. This chorus that sings into the river of life, coursing in all of our souls, growing in volume, rising in tide, echoing into the vastness of eternity as loudly as the tiny private chambers in our hearts. The song is ours, the song is yours, the song is forever. Remember me, we ask. And the church says, remember you. How can I keep from singing? And may it ever be so. Blessed be, and amen.